All the elders and the youth, it's time to expose the lies and uplift the truth. Come on, you know the state of the world. Understand, man, universal law. People all over the world. Know the state of the world. Understand, man, universal law. City to city.
Hello, everybody. Welcome to Dissolving the Divide. Really glad to be here with an exciting guest, Jake Jackson. I'm Leslie Powers. This is Derek Barlicelli. How you doing?
Bonjour, happy Saturday, and I'm really happy to be speaking with a great man who speaks our language pretty much through and throughout, in regards to his work and his solution-oriented approach towards how to apply natural law, how to stand firmly upon it, and like use these eternal principles to make positive effects and change in the world that we desperately need, because unfortunately man-made laws are severely out of alignment to natural law, and we've seen this time in, time out, and we're dealing with just unresponsive, irresponsible, and draconian types of measures and stances that we see even going on in these devastating times with North Carolina and the Appalachian Mountains and all that stuff. So yeah, Jake Jackson, how you doing, brother, man? Glad to have you on.
I'm doing as well as could be expected in this world, this crazy world.
Yeah.
Just moving forward every day, trying to get people to realize that, whether they believe it or not, we all live under natural law 24/7, 365 from the day we're born to the day we die. And we either learn to align with it or we suffer consequences for violating it. And it's really as simple as that. And, like you just said, if you look at everything, every single thing that government does violates natural law. And so my work is all about how do we get rid of this entity called government? Because we're the only government we need is we, the people, governing our own lives. And we need an understanding of simple moral maxims that we don't break. And if everybody did that, then the world would be a beautiful place. And, honestly, I think 96% of people are that way. Most people are decent, but we're put in this absolutely insane construct and we're expected to act normally somehow. And, for years, it didn't resonate with me. I left the corporate world after 5 years because it was just, I could feel it destroying my soul. And the money didn't matter. Nothing mattered. I hated the grind. I hated my life, not having freedom. And so I left the corporate world in 1998 and I never went back. And I've been living essentially as a free human being for 26 years. And I just want the rest of the world to experience what I experience. But they're not going to, because essentially they're living a lie. They're living in a false reality created by other people to enslave them into a system that legally can extract their energy and their wealth. And that's why we live in the world we live in today, and why there's such a massive wealth gap in the world is because of the system that we live in. So I looked at that and I said, the only solution is we need to replace the system with one that gives the power back to the people, that allows the people to keep 100% of your income, that restores all the wealth to the individual. And the system right now doesn't do that. It does the exact opposite. So, yeah, go ahead.
Yeah. So, clearly you've come from, different walks of the system. You've walked through the corporate world. You mentioned you've been in the military. You've lived small town. You've lived big city. you've been out there and learned experientially to see the problems in the world. And I think people easily see problems, but the idea of solutions is much harder to hold on to. You know, people really are feeling pretty defeated and like powerless in this system. So your passion seems to be like really envisioning a solution and a way that humans can exit some of this tyranny without, you know, engaging in physical revolution or violence. So I really want to hear more about how you see that could be done.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, looking back at history and all of the destruction and the wars and everything, it's, you know, like we're human beings. We're all just human beings, and we all can learn to communicate effectively. That's what the trivium and the language arts is all about. Coming to a meeting of the minds. You know, there's we live in a world that we've been gifted by our creator, and we're supposed to share it equally. And we're not supposed to have an entity, an empire coming and saying, oh, well, we need these resources for our empire, so we're going to come and impose our will on you, and if you don't want to give us those resources, we're going to kill you. I mean, it's war is completely insane, yet it's been the norm for 6,000 years. You know, Catherine Austin Fitts likes to call it, you know, the 500-year central banking warfare model. And that's what we live in. And it's an insane construct, and it needs to change. But the change is never going to come from the top. It's not going to come from the top down. It has to come from we, the people. And so I've created this content, you know, these video series, the website, the documentation, everything is available. And if people would just go and look at it, you know, we could begin moving in the right direction to ultimately achieving that goal of emancipation from the matrix or the Babylon system, whatever you want to call it. We need a plan of action, and that's what I've offered. You know, and one of the video series I did, the second one I did was called The Path to Freedom. And in part one, I basically said, look, nothing is accomplished in life without a destination. You know, if you're going on a trip, okay, we got to figure out where we're going, right? How are we going to get there? Are we driving? Are we flying? What are we going to do when we get there? And that's the way I looked at the Natural Law Republic. Okay, what would it look like when we get there? So I wrote it all down, and I created these videos, and I used the concepts of natural law to create everything as a foundation for a replacement system. And, you know, what I'm saying is all we need is 10% of the population, and we can completely change the world. You know, but building to that 10% has been frustratingly futile because, like you said, people are stuck, and, you know, they keep thinking, oh, well, we'll vote our way out of this, or we'll sue them, you know, for being mean to us, and we'll get them in their legal system that they've completely controlled. So, you know, every single way that people think out of the system is a dead end. And I wrote a blog about that about a year and a half ago. You know, logically, what options do we have? And I pretty much highlighted the only 6 options we have. 5 of them are a dead end, and 1 of them leads to freedom. And that's what I'm proposing with my work.
Yeah, totally. And it seems people are kind of caught up in all the Babylonian games, and they think, you know, they can find solutions through those, yet, you know, they're kind of pitfalls. And yeah, as you mentioned in previous works and videos and stuff, like, and we all know, I don't know about all, but and how many people are actually keeping that in mind in regards to that classic quote of, yeah, there's like thousands of people hacking at the branches, but very few getting at the root. And to really get at the root, we have to understand the root problems and the causal factors of that. Yet people are still operating on the plane of effects, not able to effectuate change from that level. They need to get down to the causal factors of what is really going on. And yeah, we understand the violations of natural law and how things are so misaligned and skewed in our disfavor that yeah, people are just operating on those falsehoods and creating the the false reality, unfortunately, and to kind of get people out of that mindset and into the more solution oriented thing. Yeah, it sucks, it's not that popular of an option, and people would rather just sit back and watch more videos and to listen to the commentary of how fucked up things are instead of actually like getting onto the playing field and making positive changes, it seems, right?
Yeah, I mean, the matrix is a self-perpetuating system. So it feeds the mind of the masses exactly what it wants the masses to create. And the masses don't know because the masses have been never been taught the critical thinking skills that I didn't acquire until 2011, 2012. It was Jan Irvin's Gnostic Media, Richard Grove's, uh, what was it called?
Autonomy, Grand
Tragedy
Theft
and Hope.
Auto, or Grand Theft World.
Yeah,
Tragedy and Hope.
that's this new one. This is, we're talking back 14 years ago. He had
Right,
Tragedy
right.
and Hope. And I mean, I went through all the curriculum to learn the critical thinking skills because in 2007 and 2008 was when I was first introduced to the work of Charlotte Iserbyt and John Taylor Gatto. I'm like, whoa, no wonder we can't get through to people because the entire education system was designed to program us to believe in this false construct. And so I did the curriculum and I went through it all. And so I learned critical thinking before I was introduced to natural law. And then so once the natural law came about, I'm like, this is the key. This is the key to freeing humanity. We have to reclaim our minds. And I've created the video content so that everybody can go and watch it to learn how to reclaim their mind, reclaim our health. That's the video series I'm working on right now. And start applying these just simple, fundamental moral maxims of natural law to everything, and immediately. So once you understand grammar, logic, and rhetoric, you can start looking at rhetoric, everything that we're being told, and immediately say, what's the grammar and logic behind that? Is this a logical argument? Are the facts actually true? Is what they're telling me true? And if the grammar and logic doesn't match the rhetoric, guess what? You are being lied to. You are being gaslit. And it's time for us to say, enough is enough. We're done being lied to, and we're gonna unite and align with objective truth and reality. And we're gonna create a world that we want to live in, not the world that you want us to live in so that you can extract our wealth and our energy. And that's exactly what the Babylon system is.
Yeah. So, when I'm in a social work field and we're, as a field, we're totally intertwined, indoctrinated into the system and partners with the government really to get things done. And so even in this field, we're based on justice philosophically and activism. But yet what I'm seeing is the activism is all, like you were saying, within the system. It's playing
Right.
the system's game, standing with a sign on the Capitol lawn, calling your representative, writing letters to beg for them to, treat you better or whatever. And that's not what we're talking about when we're talking about real change or real active, detachment from this system. So how
Right.
do you envision it? What is the different way of freeing ourselves and seeking, fighting for our rights?
Right. Well, just to go back to what you were saying and what Derek said earlier, the quote is from Henry David Thoreau. There are 1,000 hacking at the branches of evil to one who is striking at the root. And I'm striking at the root. And it's so frustrating because that's all I do is I see people every single day. You're hacking at the branches of evil. All right. Stop that. Focus on this and we'll get there. So to answer your question, my vision is we need to build critical mass. That's key. Nothing happens until we have enough people that can leave the system en masse safely. Okay. And I'm saying 10%. 1 in 10 people in America would be what, 35 million people. If 35 million people decided that we are going to declare our independence from the system, and all the documentation is available on the websites. This is the Declaration of Independence, and it's something that every single person would sign, and you would mail it to your congressman and your senator, because they're the ones who supposedly represent you in the matrix system. So if you get 35 million people declaring their independence from the system, they do not have the resources to stop us. And the beauty of this plan is it's fully decentralized. We're not all moving to an area that can be attacked. We're in all 50 states. We're fully decentralized. They can't, you know what I'm saying? And so if we all declared our independence from the system and we all signed on to a new constitution, and the constitution is, here's the constitution. It's a 20-page document which basically establishes a new social order that creates debt-free currency, does not allow taxation, and recognizes every single individual as a sovereign, autonomous human being. Okay? So 35 million people create this new system, and suddenly the other 90% has an option outside of the false left-right political paradigm. So you can't do this on your own. If people start doing this onesie twosie, I'm just going to, and that's what people are doing with the legal system. I freed myself and I'm, getting into my account and paying for all this stuff and buying, I look at these legal groups and I just shake my head every day. It's just, you're hacking at the branches of evil. You're not striking at the root. And the root is, we the people hold the power because we have the numbers. And in the last video, many of my videos I talk about, there's this book right back here called Superclass by David Rothkopf, and he states very clearly. The subtitle is the world elite and the superclass. It's the elite in the world they are making, or something like that. But he basically says 6,000 people control the entire world. So, and it all trickles down from there. It's the pyramid. But we outnumber them 1,000,000 to 1. So we have the power. And all we have to do is realize it and say, we're done. You're fired. We're not going to comply with you. We're not going to conform to your insane system anymore. And if we walk away, see, how does this system survive? It survives by extracting our energy. So if we remove our energy from the system en masse, and if 10% does it, you'll get 20% almost immediately. So then you're at 30%. And once you get 30% of the population saying, we're free, it's over. The New World Order will fall because people will suddenly realize these true leaders in the world have given us a path to freedom. And these fake leaders over here that have been abusing us our entire lives, they've just been charlatans all along who have been lying to us, telling us they're going to take care of us, telling us they're going to protect us. It's all a lie. Everything is a lie. And it was 2007. It was April, a couple weeks after my 40th birthday in 2007, that I stumbled across Aaron Russo's America Freedom to Fascism on Google Video, before they bought YouTube. And it was like 12:30 in the morning, but I stayed up till 3 in the morning watching this documentary, and I was like, holy shit, everything that I was, I guess, questioning about the financial system in 1992 when I was a junior in college was just verified in this one documentary. I knew there was something wrong about it. But I couldn't quite put my finger on it because, my professors said, "Oh, you're wrong. You're not right about that." So you're young and 22 and you don't know what you're talking about, right? No, actually, I was 25 at the time. I got out of the military 20. I was 25, but anyway, this whole stock market system with derivatives and options and all this other horse shit, it's another thing. If you look at the GDP and the graphic I used in one of my videos, the entire worldwide gross domestic product for all products and services created by human beings in 2010 was roughly $62 trillion. That's the global market. But the derivatives market was 10 times larger than that. So they're using this fake money in the stock market to exponentially grow their wealth, and they're using that fake wealth to buy up the world out from underneath us, when we the people are the ones who create everything. And they're using this fake money to buy it up from us and steal it
Our
from us.
labor,
Yeah.
our 40-hour kind of slave job, in a sense, that we're barely getting a decent living from, and keeping us trapped in stress. And so, it's reminding me of this, exit and build concept that Derek Rose and the Conscious Resistance are also talking about. And they're, developing some approaches to people becoming less dependent on the system. Because the problem is right now is that people are so intertwined with the system, they're very dependent on it for their income, to pay for their housing, to get their health insurance, or whatever other multitude of ways. How do you recommend people prepare to be in a place of stability, as much as possible, when it comes time to declaring this independence, right, in mass? So, and there's steps to get there of coordinating and communicating and then preparing ourselves so that we're not falling into, abject poverty and homelessness, things like that. Like, what are your concrete thoughts about that?
Well, first of all, if you can get out of debt, because debt is the biggest trap out there. That's what it's the debt-based monetary system that underlies everything, and so everything that's created has a little bit taken out of it through this debt mechanism. When the transition comes, and again, the number one, the idea needs to be shared that we're going to do this. Okay. Once we have critical mass, well, in the process of building critical mass, we will build the infrastructure. I know Michael Tellinger has already built a massive part of the infrastructure with his it's almost like a people's bank type of thing, where we could plug into that. I don't like his use of tokens, because that ties into SDG 2030 and all that horse shit. But he's got the right idea.
Ubuntu.
Yeah, exactly. And a lot of people are confused about his work because a lot of people that follow him say, "Oh, we can just do without money." No, I just listened to an interview with him 2 weeks ago. He says we need money because money is an accounting system. Not everybody's equal. Not every job is equal. Some jobs are harder than others. So money is a accounting system of the value that we provide to the world, to society. And so when you provide that and people give it to you back what they value it as, that's your worth. Okay. And so everybody finds their gift, they shares it with the world, and they make enough money to earn a comfortable living. And none of that money is taken away in a natural law republic. So once we have the critical mass, we would take our wealth dollar for dollar, what we have over here in this fiat currency, and it would be honored dollar for dollar in this new debt-free currency. So you wouldn't be losing anything. The transition would be from this system into this system. And that's what I'm saying. Everyone's trying to build within the system. Even cryptocurrency is essentially built within the system, because it relies on so many things in the system. We need to build outside the system. And the one thing I disagree with Eric Bros is he has it backwards. It's not exit and build, because he's creating these little targets all over the world, these freedom cells. Well, you just created a target over there. You just created a target over there. We need to back that up. It's build and exit. We need to build the system first and then exit into it, because that way we have safety in numbers. If you know, and I talked to him about this 2 years ago at the Float Fest here in Texas. I gave him all my documentation, everything, and he said he'd reach out to me, and I never heard from him ever again. So, I reached out I got my information into the hands of 11 prominent influencers that weekend. Not a single one got back to me.
Yeah, I think we need persistence to keep floating and interacting and networking and continue to build the communication. Yeah.
But everyone thinks that they have the answer, and I can step back and look at it, and I can show them where they have their blinders on. Just like the conscious resistance and the freedom cell network. You're doing it backwards, because what you're doing, and they even talk about, John Bush talks about a parallel society. I don't want to build a parallel society. I want to build a replacement society, because you don't want to live next to something that's still abusing so many people in the world. We, the people, need to unite and create the replacement that's going to give the power back to the people. Because if you're living next to or in parallel to this matrix Babylon system, it's still going to attack you. It's still going to abuse people. And, God, my heart breaks every single. Last night I was up late watching these videos coming out of North Carolina, and government stopping people from trying to go and help others. You can't fly your helicopter in there. No, you can't deliver food. Like, who the hell are you to tell people what they can and can't do when they're trying to help fellow human beings? It absolutely disgusts me. And the amount of people. Someone said that there was 900 bodies piled up in Nashville, Tennessee. So, what we're being told in the media is it's a lot worse than what we're being told. And obviously they're covering up because they don't care. They're not going to do anything to fix it. It's just, so everything is wrong. Everything in the world is wrong. And to strike the root of every problem, and this is what I figured out a long time ago, all you have to do is look at any problem, apply the 4 moral maxims of natural law. The problem becomes self-evident, and as well as the solution. And that's the power of natural law. It's 4 moral maxims. And I understand the 7 hermetic principles and all the other things that go along with it, but I wanted to keep my work simple. And that's why I chose 4 moral maxims. The golden rule, which is already in everybody's religious beliefs. Don't steal. Every violation of natural law is one form of theft or another. You're either taking from someone else or you're taking from yourself. Honor your contracts and word. Do what you've promised to do to the best of your ability, and always respect the balance of nature. Those 4 moral maxims will lead humanity to a better world. All you have to do is adopt them.
Can you share maybe a specific example of how those maxims could help guide someone away from wrongdoing into proper alignment?
That's what I did with my life. The things that I saw, one of the videos that I'm working on right now, they're going to be released in the next week. I show everyone what I looked like at 31 years old. After 5 years in the corporate world, I looked like absolute hell. I was 225 pounds. My face was bloated from binge drinking. And, so once you understand treating others is the same as treating yourself. You know, you want to treat yourself the same way that you would treat others as well. So the golden rule applies to yourself, just like the second moral maxim. If you do something that violates natural law, like, you know, consuming highly processed foods with seed oils and sugars and grains and all these things that are unhealthy for the human body, you're only harming yourself. You know, you're stealing from your future years, your future health, your so it's such a powerful concept and ideology to live by, because it literally covers everything you can think of. You know, natural law covers everything. Every action that we make, every thought we think, has an implication in natural law. You're either aligned with it or you're not. And if you think taking from others to enrich yourself is actually going to enrich you, you're lying to yourself. And lying is a violation of natural law, because you're stealing. You know, you're stealing. It's the word I'm looking for here. Informed consent. So when you lie to someone else, you're actually stealing informed consent from them. That's why it's a violation of natural law. So I don't lie. Everything I tell is the truth, as I know it. And the truth as I know it is based on the trivium, you know, the grammar, logic, and rhetoric. And I've done my due diligence, and I've done more work than most people will ever do in their life to truly understand the difference between fact and fiction. You know, and that's what I share on all my social media. I share the facts as I see them and can prove them with grammar, logic, and rhetoric. So if people want to learn, the best way to do it is to go to my YouTube channel, Kaizen and the Pursuit of Truth. And there's a 5-video series called the Foundational Video Series, where I teach, first of all, Kaizen. And then I show how the critical thinking skills were removed from us on purpose. And then I teach, you know, grammar, logic, and rhetoric. I teach the trivium in those 5 video series. So once people get through that, they immediately can start applying it to every single belief. Because what is a belief? Belief is nothing more than rhetoric. It's something you've been programmed or accepted as truth in your life, and it's rhetoric. So you can take that rhetoric or your belief, and now you can apply this equation: grammar plus logic equals rhetoric. All right. And as we know from math, both sides of that equal sign have to be the same. So if your rhetoric is saying something, but you find something over here in the grammar and logic that doesn't mesh with the rhetoric, it's up to you as a human being to change your rhetoric, to change your beliefs. Because I've just been introduced to something that doesn't align with what I believe to be false, or what I believe to be true that I now know is false. So therein lies personal responsibility. You know, I've been saying, I was having a conversation with my little sister years ago. I don't know what the topic was. It may have been 9/11, something to do with that. But she was saying things, and I was talking to her about the book I was working on. So it was probably around 2011 or 12. And I was telling her my ideas and my concepts and what I was going to be writing in the book. And you know what she said? She said, you can't tell people that they don't have a right to their opinion. And that, like, right there just blew the doors open for me. I'm like, oh my God, that's the problem with our world. We have been told our entire lives that you are entitled to believe whatever you want to believe, and no one can tell you otherwise. I'm like, that's insane. That means that every single person can create their own little false reality, and you can't tell me I'm wrong. That's no way to run society. That's no way to run the world. That's creating this insane world where men can be women, and, you know, so.
Yeah, the world of moral relativity and solipsistic
Yeah, absolutely.
mindset. Yeah.
It's not. Morals are not relative. Morals are absolute. And the 4 basic moral maxims of natural law is all you really need to know. And so opinions, when dealing with objective reality, are not a right. They're a responsibility. And that's what most people don't understand. You got people out there still thinking, oh, I can believe whatever I want. Oh, you're wrong. You're wrong. Your opinion doesn't match with mine, so you're wrong. Well, have you actually done the grammar and logic to check your rhetoric? Probably not. So who's wrong and who's right? That's your ego talking. You're allowing your ego to control your beliefs because you're not willing to challenge if you're wrong. If you may be mistaken, you may possibly be mistaken about what you believe. So here's how you check it: grammar, logic, and rhetoric. That's all I do. And it's the thing is, it's so simple. It's so absolutely simple to do. But we've got people out there that are completely controlled by their ego mind. And they're afraid, that's the other thing is fear. They're afraid, well, what will other people think of me if I change my beliefs? What will my family think if I change my religious beliefs? Or, and that's, I did it, and my family has completely abandoned me. They don't want to hear it. And so all I have left is my father. Is the only one that talks to me, who just turned 80 yesterday. Happy birthday, Dad.
Yeah.
So that's it. That's talk about striking the root. That's the root of the problem. The problem really is the people. They're allowing all of this to happen because they believe in lies. They refuse to challenge them, and they refuse to look at anything that might fix things. And that's why I've been so frustrated with, because I've got such powerful work, and people that actually look at it say, wow, this is powerful. This really is a solution, but I can't get people to look at it. So
Yeah, we're kind of all in the same boat, brother, and I feel you. And going over this work, and Mark Passio has a wonderful 9-hour seminar that's a magus opus, if you will. And one of the things he goes over is, there's a couple of slides in regards to belief versus knowing or gnosis or knowledge. And it's almost as if, belief and belief systems especially are the antithesis of knowledge and things that are just objectively true and right in this objective reality. And it's really unfortunate that there's like such a severe divide amongst, folks that want to believe whatever the fuck, whether it be religious or whatever. And, even like religious belief in government or the fake financial system and all these things that, restrict and thwart and bind people towards forward progress, which is what religare, the word, religion in its etymological terms means.
right.
So there's already that, and people can be so, like they'll defend those beliefs to the death, unfortunately. And there's some beliefs, if it's not harming other people, is that really against, natural law? There might be a degree, give or take or whatever, but like, is it just not better to just align to what is the isness, objective truth in reality and morality and all this? So it's like, what are people off on all these little fantasy things and not just like properly grounded in, themselves, their true authentic self, and not getting persuaded by all these exterior things that are pulling at their heartstrings and all this stuff and making them create like a false reality for themselves and not the most authentic life, I guess.
Right. You just mentioned feelings. That's a problem. We have been programmed to react emotionally instead of rationally. And that was all part of removing that curriculum from our schooling. Is they wanted us to be emotional, they wanted us to be dramatic, and that's why you turn on TV and it's all drama everywhere. Like, and so people are, they're monkey see, monkey do. Like, oh well, this is the way that everyone else is, so this is the way I'm going to be. I'm going to fight. I'm going to argue. I'm going to this, instead of saying, okay, I see your belief, but let's really take a look at it. You know, what's true and what's false, and, you know, where are your sources, and, you know, people don't know how to communicate anymore. And it's that ego mind that's controlling that that reality that we live in, and most people can't break free of it. And that's what I've really come to learn on social media, is like, some of the things I see, I'm like, shake my head. I'm like, wow, you just went there. You know, when I've got all this evidence and proof and everything, it doesn't matter what topic it is. People are passionate about their beliefs without ever having done the due diligence to verify what they believe in.
Yeah, that fear response has a very deep, like, primal core to survival, right? People lose their connection to logic and the ability to reason because their, animal and reptilian brains have been triggered, right? And they're in a fight or flight, protective mode. And somehow I think the mind control programming has really done a number on people and kept them frozen in this idea of change, resisting the very things that could help them,
Right.
because what's familiar feels better than the unknown. And yeah, so the
And, you know,
psychological component's big.
and I really have a deep insight to this, because, you know, my mother is completely controlled by fear her entire life. And I've tried to wake her up. You know, I tried to wake her up for 13 years, until she slammed the phone down on me on my birthday in 2020, when I was trying to tell her that the entire thing was a hoax. I don't know where this is going to be, but I don't want to get it flagged. And all she could say was Fauci this, Fauci that. One of the last things she ever said to me was, why can't you just be like everybody else? And that's it. She fears admitting she was wrong. I mean, she's a confirmed narcissist, so we already know that. Her entire life has been controlled by an obsessive compulsive disorder based on an irrational fear of germs. Okay, so I grew up living in a house where you weren't allowed to walk into the house unless you wiped your feet off with Lysol. It's just this insane upbringing. I talk about growing up in Ripon, Wisconsin. It was the atmosphere that I loved, not so much my family life, but so I can see what fear does to what can do to people, because my mom's greatest fear is admitting she's wrong. My mom's greatest fear is not being accepted by other people, because the facade that she puts out to the world is completely fake from how she treats her family and how her family sees her. And I'm starting to see that in everybody, and what happened during COVID, and I see this pathological behavior now in the gym. Everybody's working out, and then they're going and getting this bottle and these towels and spraying down equipment and wiping it off. I'm like, y'all are destroying the equipment by incessantly doing this. It doesn't need to be done. There's no germs on these things that are going to make you sick. And I'm like, this is what I grew up with, and now the whole world is obsessed with it. I'm like, come on, people.
Oh man.
And that's it. It's fear of people disagree. It's as simple as people disagree with you, or fear of not being accepted. So I'm going to go along with the majority, because if I don't, I'm somehow the crazy, kooky conspiracy theorist, and I don't give a shit. I am what I am. Truth is all that matters. The first thing it says on the top of my Living Well VNO website, truth is all that matters. And that links, no, you're fine. That links to everything, a blog I wrote about it. Truth is all that matters, where I talk about this idea of the right to your opinion. So, truth, it's all that matters. And as long as we're not aligned with it, and we're acting in falsehoods, unaligned with objective reality and natural law, we are going to suffer consequences. And that's the entire world is operating on falsehoods right now. And that's why there's so much chaos and misery and disorder in the world, is because we're not aligned with truth and natural law. And so that's the root. So the solution is align with natural law. Well, how do we do that? I don't know. Go and look at all my content. Go look at my videos. There's Manifesting a New Reality. There's The Path to Freedom. There's Creating a Natural Law Republic. There's Emancipation Proclamation 2.0, 22. There's all this content that I've created. We're talking thousands of hours for no pay, because of my love for humanity, because of my love for doing the right thing, and trying to offer real solutions to the world. It's all available. It's all right there. And people just have to take the time. There's no cost. The only cost is, one of my friends who's in the network, David Greenberg, he says, the only cost to you is to spend time and pay attention to what those who know are saying, because we've done it. My body of knowledge alone comes from over 50,000 hours of research and work and due diligence and understanding before I ever started creating content. I wanted to make sure I was right before I could have made a podcast years ago. I didn't even create a YouTube channel until 2022. I had my other channels, in 2020. But there was 13 years of work behind anything before I even started sharing this knowledge, because I didn't want to just repeat what Mark Passio was doing. I wanted to take that knowledge and say, how do we apply it? How do we apply this, practically and pragmatically to our world? And that's been the foundation of all my work for all these years is, what can we do? What can we do with this? How does this work? How can we make this work for everybody? And if you really look at my work, it's so simple. It's one definition of natural law. It's 4 moral maxims. It's 3 language arts. If you can learn that, you can learn anything.
Yeah. So I'm wondering, what kind of feedback, what kind of pushback, do you get from people? Because I'm wondering if it highlights the fear people actually have of the government, right? If we try to leave the government, where the government's gonna punish us, right? I think some of the feedback of people and the resistance, it highlights the very fact of the tyranny that we're motivated to avoid the wrath of, right? But I'm wondering what you've observed.
That's just circular argumentation. That's a logical fallacy. We don't want to dismantle the government because we're afraid of what they're going to do. Well, that's why we need to dismantle the government. If you have to live in fear in the society that you're living in, doesn't that give you the answer that we have to change the system? So, people can argue all they want, but every single argument that they come after me, there's not one person that's been able to refute anything that I've said in any of my work. Nothing. And if they do, I just say, well, that's a logical fallacy, and here's why.
And what are some other examples that you're seeing people?
Well, I think one of the biggest problems in the truth community is so many people are black-pilled. They take the red pill. They're like, oh, my God, this is insurmountable. It's nothing could ever take this down. And so they give up. And that's what they tell me. That's the number one argument I get against my work. Is it's never going to happen, so I'm not going to bother looking at it. And that's it. Because the people who do look at it, someone just discovered my work. Angie Lacey. She's sharing it every single day, multiple times a day. I mean, she sees the power in what I'm proposing. She's like, no one in the world has done anything like this. You know, I mean, and she learned from Mark Passio too. She's like, he's taken his work and he's applied it. And if people would just look at it and share it, because that's what it's going to take. Each one teach one. You need to learn for yourself. You need to share it with other people. And you need to make sure that they're looking at it, because this is our only way out. Our only peaceful way out of this system is unity. Is numbers large enough to walk away in safety, because they don't have the resources to harm us. Once we've transitioned to this new system, and again, it will be built by the time we get to critical mass, they can't stop it. You know, they can try and shut down networks, or they can try and shut down, whatever, but we're going to have systems in place to where everybody will be able to nourish themselves, work. There's going to be a marketplace in this new debt-free economic system where everybody will be able to exchange, and the rest of the world will say, wow, they did it. They actually did it. Let's go join them. And that's what it's going to take. Nothing else will suffice. So people need to stop wasting their time on all this other stuff, talking about the theories or talking about, one little aspect of it. It's because implementing a natural law republic solves all problems, because natural law, as you know, is a self-correcting mechanism. If you're operating under natural law and something goes wrong, you're like, okay, what part did I violate? What went wrong here? And you can go and look at it. You can apply the grammar and logic to the rhetoric you were applying and say, well, that didn't work out. And that's what Kaizen is all about. It's constantly going through the cycle of saying, okay, that worked, but here's some pitfalls. How do we fix that one the next time around? So that's why I named my channel Kaizen of the Pursuit of Truth, because Kaizen is all part of natural law. So, I mean, everything, the logo that's up there on screen right now, that's my primary logo that I created in 2019. And what that represents is it's living, the LW on the bottom, it's living well under NL, natural law. And I've got the four primary elements. That's what the fire, air, water, earth, and then that red border represents the ether that holds everything together. So that's the logo that defines all of my work. It's living well under natural law. And so if we all align with natural law, every single person in this world would be living well. We would be living in abundance. Everybody would have as much wealth as they are willing to work for, because none of it's being taken from them. It's how we build generational wealth within the family. It's how we build strong communities, because you know what? Let's talk about North Carolina right now. Let's take that real world example, throw it into a natural law republic, and say, how would we solve this? Let's get practical here. So first of all, number one, in a natural law republic, and I know there's a lot of people in the community that understand this, there's not going to be engineered weather anymore. So number one, what happened in North Carolina would never have happened in a natural law republic. If they have the technology to amp these storms up and direct them where they want to go, they also have the technology to kill them, to drive them offshore, to keep them far from property, to keep them far from people, to keep them far from where they can do harm. Okay? That's number one. In a natural law republic, all these fires that are being created by directed energy weapons. Lahaina wouldn't have happened. The campfire and all these fires in California and Canada, they don't happen in a natural law republic. We actually live in a safe society where there's not these psychopaths that are trying to harm you. Number two, if it does happen, aid would be delivered immediately to everyone affected. And the money would be created to make people whole. Because guess what? That money goes back into the economy and it just recirculates. Because what money is just energy. It's just recirculating energy is all it is. And it's all it should represent. But for most people, it represents power and wealth and control and the ability to oppress and coerce. And I mean, money has been turned into something of evil when it should be something of good. Money is a representative of our good energy that we put out into the world. And that's all it ever should be. It's all it was ever meant to be until the banksters took control. So in a situation where there's a natural disaster in a natural law republic, the money would immediately be created and given to those in need. There would still be insurance in a natural law republic for individual things, but acts of God, we the people can fix that. We can make everybody whole, 100% whole again in a natural law republic, to where it'll take time to come back to whole, but you will have the money, 100% of the money. And it's not going to debauch the value of everyone else's currency because it's money that's going to people that are doing the rebuilding, that are doing the work. And so it doesn't take away from anything. So in a debt-based system, if you create that money, well, guess what? You now have to pay that back plus interest to these criminals who are making it out of nothing. So, that's what Michael Tellinger talks about. He says, money is fine as long as it's the people's bank. And that's exactly what the treasury in a natural law republic would be. It would be the people's bank. And there would be enough money in society to satisfy the total gross domestic product. And then we would add 10% to allow for growth. And that amount of money would be static. And if there was a contraction as people leave materialistic ways, and we don't need as much, or we don't, then we would reduce the money supply. But it would always remain static based on the total productivity of the society, the people, because we're the ones who create everything, and the fact alone that a bank can come in and take your house if you miss enough payments and all the equity and everything. I mean, that's theft. The entire system operates on theft. And so humanity is being robbed blind in this system. And in a natural law republic, if we can get there, the robbery goes away. Everybody keeps everything that they've earned. And my God, what a beautiful world this would be if we can get there. But people have to do the work. People have to go and look at this idea. It's your alternative. It's your option outside of the false left-right political paradigm that everybody clamors for. Oh my God, it's the most important election of our lifetime. Yeah, so were the last 20, right? It's absurd.
Yeah. How would you respond to people who talk about needing to have this military that protects our borders, that, we're at risk of, being taken over by other corrupt?
I talk about that in one of the parts of my Manifest in New Reality series. I think maybe part 6. The idea of creating a natural law republic in America, and there's a strong contingent in Canada right now, is to show the rest of the world that it can be done. And the ultimate goal is to have a world of natural law republics. A natural law republic of of France, a natural law republic of Australia, a natural law republic of Mexico. We don't want to change people's culture, their ethnicity, their ideology. We're just trying to align with natural law, and that once the entire world's aligned with it, and we've got a world of natural law republics, there's no need for militaries. There's no need for borders other than, the border that you want to say, I'm domiciled in this area. But I imagine a world that's essentially borderless, meaning you're free to travel wherever you want without permission from your government. I mean, the idea that we have to ask permission of our government to travel is, to me, one of the most absurd constructs, and I just won't. I boycotted flying in 2008. My passport is expired, and I will only go where I'm able to go. And try and share this message with the world to say, look, if we can dissolve this entity, you're free to go anywhere. You will have. So part of the idea of a natural law republic is that everybody would have what's called let me see where it is, personal sovereignty social contract that states, I'm a sovereign, autonomous individual. I am signatory to this Constitution. I recognize it as the supreme law of the land because it recognized me as a sovereign individual, and it cannot harm me. It cannot steal from me. So that the whole idea of this construct is we, the people, have all the power. And it also states, I choose to domicile in this area here, which is this natural law republic, and I call it the natural law republic of the United States of America. We can keep the things that people are used to saying. I like the USA. I love America. Whatever. I love France too. I've been there once, man. It's a beautiful country. But all your identification would say is this is where I'm domiciled. But that ID would allow you to travel anywhere in the world in any other natural law republic freely as a free human being. You don't need permission from anybody. And if you want to move somewhere, you're moving there to contribute to that society, and people who don't want to contribute, people who are here to harm, there's a reform and reparation system in a natural law republic where we civilly remove these people from society and we educate them on natural law, on the 7 liberal arts, and turn them back on to society as productive, sovereign individuals. And I don't say citizen because everyone loves to use that word citizen. I hate that word. Citizens are subservient to a higher power. So, I consider myself an individual sovereign.
Right. Sovereignty. That's the word. Yeah.
So, and that's what a natural law republic would create. It would create a world of individual sovereigns who are free to live their lives as they choose and not harm other people. And that's the way it should be. That's the way we were created to be. And we have these false constructs that have come in, this evil that has come in and set up these false constructs and program people to believe that, this is the only way it can be. So this is the way it must be. And if you don't like it, well, then move to another country is the stupidest freaking argument I've ever heard.
I know. It's so silly.
Yeah. Well, so the thing is with me, what always comes to mind, and I love it. I never heard it said that way, natural law republic, and kind of coined the term. I wouldn't say it's not about me or whatever, but I like saying, building a hermetically sealed society, which is definitely along the lines of what you're talking about, for sure. And I love the fact that you're bringing up a lot of practical aspects that are embedded in society. And I'm also thinking about just like the infrastructure and how from the ground up and underneath the ground, and how we need every single municipality available still, but it just shifts over to something that's not under government because people still want to continue working their crafts and all that. That's not an issue. It's just the issue with government getting into the fucking way.
Well, here's the difference. Here's the subtle difference in a natural law republic. is we're converting this idea of power into personal responsibility. And that's it. That's all you do. And it's stated specifically in the Constitution that nobody has power over anybody else. If you want to be part of the Public Service Administration, you accept a higher level of responsibility. And if you do not do your job well, the people can fire you and replace you with someone who will do it responsibly. So there is no voting, there is no election in a natural law republic. We just say, hey, you know what? This part of the economy doesn't make sense in a free market. So we're going to create a public service administration to handle this, and we're going to pay for it through what I call contribution. So natural law republic would be paid for by, if you want to call it a tax, but that's the only thing we would pay would be a point of sale, because what the natural law republic is doing is creating a free marketplace for everybody to interact freely, right? And it's protecting that free marketplace, and it's ensuring that that free marketplace aligns with and abides by natural law. So those people will be paid by the marketplace itself. So there would probably be, I'm guessing, a 2.5% to 4% contribution on every transaction in the marketplace. And that's what would fund these public service administrations. And that's all we need to pay. So the more you buy, the more you're going to contribute. The less you buy, the less. So it works out equally for everyone. Everyone pays their fair share. And they, you hear this argument, oh, the rich aren't paying their fair share. A, that's true to a certain extent. B, they've gotten most of their wealth through illegitimate means, violating natural law. And C, I don't think in a natural law republic you would see the type of extreme gross wealth that you see today. You would see wealthy people, because a lot of people are willing to work harder than others, but the wealth would be through market forces, not redistribution of government taking and redistributing, but through market forces, wealth would be redistributed back to the people. And your net worth would be the value that you provide to society. So it all works out. Once you align with natural law, everything finds its center, its balance. And that's why I use the yin and yang in my logo as well, on Kaizen and the Pursuit of Truth, because it's all about finding balance. I've found balance in my life. Now I'm trying to help the world find balance in the world, so that we can all just live in peace without fear of oppression or coercion. Simple as that.
So as you're talking about the marketplace and buying and selling and offering products and goods, my mind goes to some of those services that aren't considered really money-making, productive kinds of things. The caregiving role, the traditional feminine roles of, child care and elder care and caring for the sick. There's a lot of roles that are really vital, to our society that aren't really around selling and money making. And how might this system support and value, those kinds of roles?
I know I talk about that in my videos. I think it may be written in the Constitution, but once you remove this debt-based economic system and people have wealth that they've never had before, what you're going to see is charity go through the roof. And the resources are going to be available for everybody that needs them. But on the other hand, we're not going to see the sickness that we see right now, because in a natural law republic, people are going to align with the simple maxims of optimal health, which is my next video series that I'm working on right now. And so once we eliminate things from the marketplace, that are only there for profit right now and that are actually harming people, we're not going to need as much external care, if you know what I mean. I mean, there's always going to be people that are injured. There's going to be people that are elderly, whatever. And those services will be provided. You know, a lot of people worry about, oh, I'm going to lose my Social Security. In a natural law republic, no one is going to be left out. If you're currently on Social Security and you cannot provide for yourself, the natural law republic will take care of you. We will create the funds that you need to live, that you've been living on, because all that money just recycles back into the economy anyway. It's not a loss to society to take care of those who can't take care of themselves. So the institutions would be in place to ensure that nobody slips through the cracks in a natural law republic. Because in a natural law republic, we're all taking care of one another.
So that I would put under the care principle, which is really essential for natural law principles to align with good, right?
Oh, yeah, absolutely.
Agape, yeah.
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 Yeah. What about schools? And we depend in the U.S. on childcare, and two-income families, and a lot of this imbalanced work week that I think is part of this slave cycle that we're all in, right? What are your thoughts about that?
I think that's actually written into the Constitution as well, and I talk about schooling a lot in my videos. In a natural law republic, education would be 100% the parent's responsibility, and there would be schools in the free marketplace. They would essentially be all private schools because you would pay to send your children there, pay to have the teachers teach. But again, you have a lot more money because number one, no property taxes in a natural law republic. You actually own your property, no income taxation. So everybody would have the money to educate their children the way they want. They could homeschool them. But in a natural law republic, the only true requirement to operate a school would be you must teach them the 7 liberal arts as the core foundational teaching, so that within one generation we would have a whole new generation of near geniuses that would continue to perpetuate the natural law republic into the future. So we would be teaching our children critical thinking skills, number one, and then and this is already being done because I watched a documentary on YouTube the other day about schools in America that are actually student driven. We teach them at a young age critical thinking skills, and we provide resources for them in these schools to learn what they want to learn, because everyone's different. Right now, everybody has to learn the same damn thing K through 12, right? In a natural law republic, the learning centers and would be teaching critical thinking, and then they would be student driven, or parents or whatever. But people would be learning trades. People would be learning, the arts. I mean, music has been just decimated, which is probably why we don't have good music in the world anymore. I mean, I grew up in just the height of creativity in the 70s and the 80s of music, and it's just gone. It's just dead. And so everything that a society would need would be taught in school. And we wouldn't be taught BS history, and, kids would learn what kids need to learn. So if two parents, first of all, you probably wouldn't need 2-parent income in a natural law republic, number one. So the mother could stay home and raise a child is probably should be the case. If you do have a 2-income family and you want more wealth, the schools would be there. You could send your kids to the school every day, but you could be assured that they are going to be getting a quality education, unlike they are right now in the public school system, where they're just being indoctrinated and programmed and being fed toxic food at lunch and forced to inject themselves with poisons to even be allowed through the door. I mean, again, everything is in violation of natural law in the current construct. So the current construct needs to be dissolved. We need to dissolve the divide between everyone that says, oh, it can't be done, or I'm going to vote red, I'm going to vote blue, and you're wrong and I'm right. And it's just, stop it, people. You're all wrong. Natural law is the guide that will lead us on the path to a better world. It's really that simple.
Yeah, thank you for that. And we've had some really great guests on it in the past in regards to homeschooling, conscious parenting, and all that stuff. Like with Dana Martin. I don't know if you're familiar with her and her work, but
Yeah.
she's spearheaded this radical parenting type of thing. And I just bring this up because what you mentioned. I agree with. Yet for a lot of people out there thinking like, oh, like yeah, like the maternity, the divine feminine, taking care of the child and all that, it's not a boring thing and it's not such a laborious thing either sometimes. And like we have friends that do homesteading and they're out in the gardens, they're laughing it up, they're having a great time, they're learning out in nature how it's supposed to be. And so it's not like people have to have this negative image of like this woman, imprisoned in a house, like that's all she's gonna do and take care of the kids and cook dinner and whatever the fuck.
Right.
No, there's way more to it. It's just like enjoying life at the same time, enjoying their creation, and cultivating a proper human being that's growing up from a seed to all that good stuff, right? So
Well,
yeah,
again, that's all part of the construct. That's part of the matrix construct.
voila, yeah.
Oh, motherhood is terrible. Why did they create that construct? Because they were only getting income taxes from half the population. Make sure that they can't make enough money to survive. Make sure that she has to go into the workforce so that now we can extract money from her too. That's how crazy this system is. And you're absolutely right. One of the channels I follow on YouTube, it's called the Nomadic Movement, and I've been following them since 2017. Just a couple from Boston who started off. They bought a little minibus, traveled all over the country, and now they have a homestead in Panama. They have the most beautiful little girl who they're homeschooling to be bilingual. And it's just like, this is it. This is the way it's supposed to be. I mean, their example is one of the most perfect examples of what family, and I mean, they bought a bare piece of land in Panama with no water on it, on a steep incline, and they have made the most amazing homestead on that piece of land. I mean, it just blows my mind. And they've created their own coffee business, and it's like, this is what it would be like in a natural law republic. They are the perfect example of what I imagine a natural law republic being. It's so amazing to see what human beings are capable of once we get government and this economic system out of the way, because all it does is abuse us over and over and over again. And, I don't think many women would want to work a regular 9-to-5 job in a natural law republic because they wouldn't have to. I see this woman raising this beautiful little girl who is just the smartest little thing, and doing it the right way. They're homeschooling her, and she's like 2.5 years old, I think, if that. She's a beautiful little girl. She's so smart. I'm like, that's the model. That is the model for family that everybody should aspire to. Go ahead.
And we wouldn't be so isolated, and we wouldn't be feeling like we have to do it all alone. I think that
Right.
would be, this natural interconnection of, teamwork and doing things together,
Absolutely.
that
Right
is
now, again, the
we're missing now.
construct has us getting up, going to work, coming home. I'm exhausted. I just want to sit down in front of the TV and be programmed some more so I can go to sleep and get up and do it all over again. And wait for Friday so I can abuse my body and have fun and enjoy my life so I can do it all over again on Monday. And that was what I escaped from in 1998. I said, this is killing my soul. I can't do this anymore. And I escaped. I got out of it. Most people, they don't. And so, you know, every day I take my dogs, they're sleeping right now. I take my dogs rollerblading, and I go around the neighborhood, and, you know, I know people who spend time outside, but most people just, you never see them. You never see your neighbors. They come home, they isolate, and there is no feeling of community almost anywhere in the world anymore. I mean, maybe in Europe, maybe in, you know, small pockets here and there, but as a whole, the closer you get to the population centers, the less you feel the feeling of community. And
Unless you're in the bar, you know, it really, that's where people go to find that connection.
yeah, because that's where they need to feel connected. You know, oh, so let's go drink and destroy our bodies. You know, and I did it for years. You know, so I'm not being a hypocrite. I learned and I quit. I don't drink. I don't do drugs. I don't nothing. I don't violate natural law, period. Simple as that. If I feel it's going to harm me, I don't do it. And if someone says, hey, let's do a shot, you know, celebrating something, I'm like, all right, I'll do one shot. I can deal with the consequences of that. But as a whole, I don't go out of my way to harm myself anymore because I don't believe in it. You know, it's just, I have fully aligned my life with natural law, and it shows in every way possible. So,
Yeah, you're a studly man in your early 50s and
late 50s now.
decades
I'm
younger than
55.
it should be, right? Yeah. But this is how we should be. We're not
Yeah.
supposed to age so, you know, all crusty in our 40s. You know, what the fuck? You know, I'm 41
Oh, you know,
and all that
I was
stuff. And
watching 60 Minutes last week because I always like to keep up with the propaganda and what the lies that they're spreading to everyone. And after it was off, this new show on CBS, it's a reality show called The Summit came on, and it's 16 people that they took down to New Zealand. I don't even think they knew what they were going there for, just an adventure. But they have 2 weeks to reach the summit of a mountain. You know, they have to work together, and, you know, if you can't make it, you know, you lose their money because they took $1 million and they separated it out evenly from the 16 people, and if someone has to drop out, that you lose their money. So it's interesting. But there was a guy in there that, you know, the old man, okay, and he's got the beard, he's got the belly, and, you know, he looks old. And I'm like, this guy's got to be like 65 or something, you know. And when they finally showed his little profile and they put his age up there, I'm like, holy shit, 52 years old. He's 5 years younger than me, and he looks like he's 25 years older than me. I'm like, this is what the Babylon system does to people. It extracts your energy from you, it enriches itself, and it kills you decades before you should be leaving here. Everything is out of balance. Everything is out of whack. Everything is wrong. And
Yeah, I've heard from like Qigong instructor that, you know, in Chinese like health understanding that we could stay at about 45 years of old functioning for the rest of our life, you know, into our 90s. Like there's no reason that we have to deteriorate so much, right? If we're understanding our natural energy system and proper ways of caring for, you know, our earth vehicle here. And it brings me to that fourth principle of respect, balance of nature. And I wanted you to expand on that a little bit more specifically. Yeah.
we're all one. Everything's interconnected. People are interconnected. We're interconnected with the animals. Everything is interconnected. And if you spoil one part of nature because you want to make money or profit or whatever, and I mean, obviously we need things, we need natural resources, but as it stands, the construct, it doesn't care about restoring nature. It just extracts, makes money, and moves on. And that's what I'm really talking about. But everything, nature has a perfect balance to it. The body, homeostasis, everything operates in trying to find homeostasis. Okay? And everything we do that harms us, harms we the people too. So we have to learn to live in balance with nature, with everything that we do for our material world, because we're not going to give up on materialism. You know, we need shelter, we need comfort, we need food, you know, we're here. But we have to align with the natural balance of everything. You know, just for a good example, this farmed fish, you know, is one of the most toxic foods in the world, and they sell this salmon as healthy. It's completely unnatural to put fish in cages so that you don't have to go out and catch them and pump them up with these toxic chemicals so that they don't get sick, and that goes into your body when you eat it. So that's one small aspect of, we have to eliminate that in a natural law republic, because it's violating the balance of nature. You know, the fish aren't swimming upstream to spawn anymore. We're overfishing the oceans. One of the things I've learned in doing this video series that I'm working on right now is most people in the world, over 90%, are eating way more than they need to eat. Now, I used to consume probably 3,200 calories a day, and in the process of doing what I've done the last 4 years, I've got my diet so dialed in to just covering my essential nutrients, macro and micro, down to 2,075 calories a day and $12.50. I get everything my body needs, and I do it in a way that fully is balanced with nature. I mean, you know, we can talk about diet, whatever you want. You know, there's all these different arguments out there, but what I've found for me, and I think it works for everybody, is that our bodies are designed to run on ketones, on fat, and not carbohydrates. So I'll be getting into that in the series, but I eat the equivalent of one cow every 5 years, and I think that's more than sustainable. You know, my diet is very friendly to nature because I don't eat packaged foods. I mean, my garbage can in my kitchen, it takes me 6 weeks to 2 months to fill, because I just don't create garbage. And if I have something that's going to, you know, spoil, I'll put it in a separate little baggie and throw it on my neighbor's garbage on Monday when the garbage comes out. But my recycle bin fills up every couple of weeks. So, you know, I do as much, and I love reduce, reuse, recycle. You know, I live by that motto a lot. You know, I live a very green lifestyle aligned with natural law. I mean, everything I do, I try to align with natural law and ensure that what I'm doing doesn't harm the overall balance. I think if everyone did that, again, once we align with natural law, you will find that everything will just magically come into balance as people understand these 4 simple moral maxims, and they say, I can reject everything else. You know, anything that I've believed in that's held me back or held me, you know, kept me from experiencing life as it should be, I can reject those, because all I need is these 4 simple moral maxims now. You know, it shouldn't be any more complicated than that. And if we simplify the world, people will jump on board very quickly.
Yeah, I hear you, and I've heard a lot of counter arguments and this and that, and just like quick little snaps of like, oh, you're in anarchy or whatever. Like, well, explain this thing, and I'm sure you've seen some memes floating around of like the classic one is like, well, people can't even put their shopping cart back in a proper manner type of thing, and going back to what you're talking about, and I totally agree. I've been down since birth pretty much, because I was fortunate enough to have somewhat cool conscious parents that are down with just in the environmental aspects of things and trying to be conscious of those and recycle, reduce, reuse as much as possible. And my observations from California and other states and being in France as well, and these people are so conditioned to rely on government municipalities to it's like they're almost expecting them one day to wipe their ass after they take a shit, as much as they litter and expect people to pick up after them type of thing. And I'm thinking like, oh well, once there's no government, who's going to pick up after these people? Like, people don't even know how to manage their own rubbish a lot of times, unfortunately. And it's just one of those things where if you understand the Hermetica, you take it to the law correspondence, as within so without, so you see all the garbage that's still within themselves, and they can't really manage the even the basic material world that they're their consummations and all that stuff, and they're not able to properly dispose of it sometimes, and it's just like this pile that accumulates in a sense, and you could take that metaphorically as well. And I love the fact, and I've done the same thing, man, just like reducing as much as we can, and like, and it's not about being a super minimalist. I'm sure you people are familiar with that term as well, but really just understanding our basic needs, and we could be not so modest and enjoy in not such an indulging manner of what life has to offer and what people have created, whether culinary or what have you, yet not be so irresponsible with how we manage our waste and that kind of stuff, and being more creative of how we can reuse some of the things that come with the packaging, or all that stuff, right?
Absolutely. The thing about, if we can get to a natural law republic, all of the technology that's been suppressed is going to come to the fore. We're going to start seeing solutions come about that we're just not allowed to have right now, because it hurts the profits of the greedy controllers. It hurts the profits of the Babylon system. And so, I think, you will start seeing people be much more respectful of one another if we can get there and realize that we are all together. I do take my cart back to the thing. And one of the things I wanted to mention about anarchy. Anarchy is the natural order. That's the natural balance. And all you have to do is to show people that they're wrong, is to illustrate to them that every time they get in their car and they drive, they're engaging in anarchy. It's as simple as that. They're not going to go out and harm. They're not trying to crash their car. Or they're 100% responsible for that car to get from point A to point B. They're not harming anyone. That's all anarchy is just doing the right thing, doing the responsible thing. And every time you drive your car, you're engaging in anarchy. That's all anarchy is. It's not disorder. You're not, driving like a crazy man. Some people do. But driving is anarchy. It's just so
interesting example.
Yeah,
Yeah.
no one wants to get into an accident, right? So
exactly,
Right.
no one wants to get in there. No one wants to pay for fixing their car or whatever. So when you get in your car, you're 100% responsible for your actions, unless you have a stupid Tesla and you want it to auto drive for you and it gets into a crash. But you're 100% responsible for your actions when you get into a car. That's what anarchy is. Being 100% responsible for your actions. That's all it is. It's not chaos. It's not disorder. That's all part of the propaganda to make you think that we need government to take care of us, because if not, it would be chaos and disorder. It's
It's interesting. You know that this automatic driving capability is trendy now, right? That you don't even have to drive your own car. You can just sit
Yeah.
back and chill, and people seem to like that. They're attracted to that. And the other thought that popped in my head that may be kind of related as part of the programming is that I think that, you know, we people tend to what would you say? Not honor, but like kind of really are jealous of the wealthy, the rich and famous, right? And a lot of the wealthy, the model is basically based on elitism, on that the most elite have special privileges and should be supported by the masses who are lower than them, so that they can have their luxury and live without working, because what they're doing is so valuable or whatever, right? And so then the masses are seeing this wealth, this people that get to live in the highlight, and have like their servants feed them grapes, and get to have their maids and their servants and so forth, right, as the model of making it somehow, or being of value. And it's a
Right.
very messed up, paradigm that I think is like leading us to say, well, gosh, we're wealthy. We deserve to have a car that drives for us. Why should we work?
Right. And that again, like I said, most of the wealth that's earned in this world is earned through illegitimate means. You know, the stock market alone, I probably have to go back and redo some of part 8 of Manifesting New Reality, because I've come to a new realization that the economic markets of the world are all part of the theft. Because what is a stock? It's a share of a company that entitles you to profits that you didn't contribute towards, other than parking some money here and doing nothing. So every dollar in profit that comes out of a corporation and goes to people is taken from everybody that actually created that product or service. So the stock market, the entire financial markets are just a way to steal more money and to create wealth, to live these fantastic lives that, I think one of the most perfect ways it was ever um, put on film was in the Hunger Games. And I see that's where society is going. And it's terrifying to see that dystopian world come to fruition right before our eyes. And the most popular influencers out there are the ones who are flashing their bling and their money, and oh, look at this. And that's not what it's supposed to be about. Creating wealth is supposed to be about creating a good life for yourself and a good life for others with what you share with the world. And you should be allowed to keep 100% of that value that you give to the world. So I think in a natural law republic, as part of the there's a series of contracts, social contracts in a natural law republic that create the checks and balances. So in the current system, they say the checks and balances are the judicial, the legislative, and the executive. Well, we can clearly see that system of checks and balances has all been hijacked. You've got K Street, you've got the lobbies, you've got they're all controlled by the people above them in the pyramid. So there are no checks and balances. So in a natural law republic, the checks and balances are a system of individual social contracts. So every single individual in society would have a personal sovereignty social contract that says, I'm a sovereign, autonomous individual. As long as I don't harm anybody or their property, you can't do a thing to me. Period. End. Then there's one for the Public Service Administration. So the people that want to take a higher level of responsibility and work in public service to ensure that the marketplace and the natural law republic operates within the confines of natural law, you will have a separate one. You will have a personal sovereignty social contract. You will also have a public service administration social contract. And then every business would have a business financial fiduciary duty social contract that says they will abide by a new set of fiduciary duties. Because right now, the number one fiduciary duty of every corporation, do either of you know what it is? Maximize shareholder value.
Fuck, I was gonna say like create and maintain employment because they want those numbers, but yeah, that those shareholders want their numbers more than that
They
other.
want
Yeah, wow,
it's
okay.
maximize shareholder value. It's maximize profit. So how do you maximize profit? You take from every single person within the company. You take from them to create more profit. So the number one fiduciary duty is theft. And so the fiduciary duties in a natural law republic, every business would have to sign this contract if they want to operate in the marketplace. Number one is to nature. Respect nature at all costs in your business activities. And if you disrupt it, you have to restore it. I don't care what it costs you. If that's your business model, that's what you're going to do. And so that aligns with the Constitution in respecting the balance of nature. Number two is to your employees. Number three is to your customers. And that's it. So those are the three fiduciary duties: nature, employees, customers. So that way everybody gets taken care of in the production of products and services, and no one's coming in and extracting the profit from an external source, and all the wealth stays where it belongs.
Right. So it's very much about relationships, right?
Right.
A relationship with nature, a relationship with each other, relationship with self, and being in alignment in all of those interactions with the principles of nature and
Yeah.
non-aggression.
And the
And
beautiful
so,
thing about, real quick, the beautiful thing about the checks and balances in a natural law republic is every single person has equal power. If you see someone, because all the contracts are contracted to each other. So if you as an individual see someone in a public service administration or a business doing something that you think violates natural law, you can summon them to a court of common law and say, why are you doing this? And they have to show up because in their public service contract, it says if summoned to a court of law, I agree to appear. So every single person has equal power, and everybody is a check and balance on everybody else. And if you create a society like that, you're going to create a very, very, very polite society.
Yeah, and it's not like they're going to jail. It's not all about like policing each other. Like, oh, I'm gonna call 911 on you. That seems better. And what I want to mention is, under this whole, corporate, the corpse, dead entity type of thing, those seem to rule governments. And so like that's always been on my mind as well. Like, all right, we can abolish government, but there's always some overhead and, things, looming amongst, the hidden hands and all that shit. But with that aside, just like that whole financial thing and with, shareholders and stockholders and all this stuff, it's such a vampiric energy. And what the whole natural law principles are about, there's way more than just the seven hermetic principles. There's also the law of reciprocity, or in Nordic terms with the rune, the law of Gebel. It's the equal energy exchange. So there's nothing lost. No one's getting ripped off. There's no violation of anyone's property of their work, their energy, their time, and all that stuff that went into said thing that was produced, or what have you, right?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, no, it's and that's the way it's set up, and that's the way. I mean, it took me years to create these documents. Thousands of hours to say, okay, this part, how would this natural law, how would it align, how would we work? And so, and like you said, if someone's trying to nitpick on other people, if you summon someone to a court of common law and it's found to be a frivolous argument, you're going to be held responsible for everyone's time that you wasted. So there's not going to be, people nitpicking and being Karens and things like that. People are going to understand. And, I love all these societal ideologies. There's so many of them out there that align with natural law, but it's all natural law at the end of the day. You know what I mean? And so that's why let's just simplify it to 4 moral maxims. And if everybody can understand that, we can have a completely civil, free, peaceful, productive, abundant society. But if we stay here, we won't. We never will if we stay where we are. Go ahead.
Right. Now, I just wanted to ask you your thoughts on the self-defense principle and where that fits in to this vision of the
Which
natural
principle?
Self-defense.
Oh, that's natural law. If someone's harming you, you have every right to defend yourself. And it's written into Article 2 of the Constitution for a Natural Law Republic. What I did was, how the current Constitution that nobody's signatory to, so it doesn't apply to anybody. I've got a video that shows that really well. Part 1 of creating a natural law republic is called the Constitution Confidence Game Revealed, showing that the Constitution has no authority. It was never meant to last more than 1 generation. And so it's just this people's idea, people's belief in it that gives us its power. So years later, they created a Bill of Rights. Well, what I did in the Constitution for a Natural Law Republic, Article 8 is called Rights and Responsibilities. Now, do we have a Bill of Responsibilities? No, we don't. We have a Bill of Rights, and that creates a selfish society. Everyone clamors about their rights. What about my rights? They don't realize that for every right, there's an equal and opposite is equally important responsibility. Okay? So what I've got here is a declaration and definition of full sovereign rights and responsibilities. And there's 9 rights, but there's actually 10 responsibilities. I don't know how that worked out, but it just did. But the right to free speech. So I'm using our Constitution and our Bill of Rights as the outline for this, so that people say, oh, well, not much has changed. It's just given us our power back. And it guarantees that you hold the power because of those social contracts. Because everybody in a natural law republic is signatory to the Constitution. They're signatory to a personal sovereignty social contract. So they're agreeing. It's a voluntary society. It's just basically, I'm agreeing to be a decent human being. And this Constitution protects my rights. It protects nature. It protects the market in a way that's never been done ever before in history. So you got the right to free speech, the right to self-defense. The Second Amendment is the second right in this declaration. The right to privacy, the right to due process of law, the right to private property, the right to pursue economic activity, the right to travel, the right to health freedom, and the right to religious worship. It's all right there in the Constitution that everybody signs. So you're not losing anything by giving up a Constitution that hasn't protected you at all your entire life. And then the responsibilities, the responsibility in one's freedom of speech, the responsibility of self-defense, the responsible use of private property, the responsible respect of privacy, the responsibility to respond to criminal complaints, the responsibility of economic activity, the responsible use of public roadways, the responsibility to personal education, the responsibility to personal health, and the responsibility to religious beliefs. Everything's covered in this 20-page document. And if you get 35 million people to sign this, you already have more legitimacy than the current Constitution, because nobody's signatory to that at all. So we would, in one fell swoop, by declaring our independence from the system and signing that Constitution, we would already have more power than the current system does. And if they try to attack us, guess what? They've just shown the world their true colors. It's a checkmate move. We have all the power. We just have to declare it. And I've given everybody the vehicle to do so. All they have to do is sign 3 documents, declare their independence, sign on to the Constitution, and sign a social contract, and we free ourselves. That's it. You don't have to go through UCC, all this BS legalese stuff that people are going through because they think it's going to free them. No, the system is still in place. This dismantles the entire system.
Sounds
Yeah,
brilliant.
no, I love your thinking and this, innovative thought process that is based on principle, and really admire the amount of time and work and passion that you put into this. I think with that responsibility comes another level of like emotional intelligence and mastery, right? A responsibility to do our own healing work and to, communicate with each other at a higher level than people are used to.
Right.
And those can make all the difference.
Here's the thing. One of the things that you're going to find in a natural law republic, if we can get there, lies will not be allowed. Blatant lies from corporations, from the government. We're gaslit and lied to every single day of our life. In the Constitution, in the Public Service Administration, it sets up two branches of the Public Service Administration to ensure that natural law is followed. One is called the Department of Business Accountability. So, you're going to have your contract as a business, and if they see you violating natural law in any way, the Public Service Administration can call you into a court of common law to answer for what you're doing, to remedy whatever it is you're doing. You can stay in business, just fix this, right? There's also a Department of Media Accountability. Now, like we have the fact checkers on Facebook today who basically suppress the truth, this is going to be a system that operates on the trivium, the grammar and logic. They're going to be checking the rhetoric or the grammar and logic behind all the rhetoric that the businesses are saying. And so they're going to be accountable. Businesses will be accountable to that department in the natural law republic. So no one's going to be able to lie to you anymore. So once people stop being lied to, they're going to make better decisions. Okay? So there's not going to be a whole lot of healing that needs to take place after the initial healing of letting go of the old system. Because once we align with natural law, and I'm living proof of all of this because I don't get sick. I haven't been to a doctor since 1998. No pharmaceuticals, nothing. It's just I eat healthy food and that's it. And I exercise 3 days a week. I go to the gym and I rollerblade 2 miles a day with my dogs. I'm living proof of my concept that it works in all.
And personal accountability.
Yeah, people just want to be selfish. And, another one of the arguments is, oh, well, I could never live that way. Why? Why do you want to continue abusing yourself? Why do you want to continue abusing nature, allowing these corporations to feed you crappy, toxic food, for the governments to continue putting toxins into your water? Why? Why do you want to keep living that way? It just doesn't make sense. Other than ego, sloth. Let's get into all the 7 deadly sins here, because the system is operating on all 7 deadly sins. And a natural law republic operates on the 7 virtues. So there's your shift right there. And one of the things you said earlier, Derek, you mentioned vampirism and in the stock market and corporations. And it's exactly what Bob Marley was singing about in the Babylon system. He says the Babylon system is the vampire. sucking the children day by day. Rebel, rebel. You know, I mean, there have been so many messages in music that tell us how to free ourselves that I've listened to and I've applied and I've freed myself. And I'm just trying to free the rest of the world now because I know how wonderful freedom is.
Yeah, that's beautiful. I think that's a good place to wind up our talk here today, and just want to give you the chance to, bring up any points that you think if you've missed anything that you want to make sure that you get said, and also just share of where people can find your work.
Yeah, I mean, the one thing, none of this comes to fruition without people. We need each other to every single day of our lives. We need each other. No man is an island. You know, everybody has their part to play in society. Everybody has their part to play in the market, in the economic system. You now have your part to play in freeing humanity. I have created the content. It's all available on my YouTube and my other channels. Everything is available on thefreedomproject2020.org. And I'm getting ready to relaunch livingwellvnl.com in this coming week once the videos are done. But I mean, I've sacrificed everything to do this work and I've lost everything. I am broke. I'm literally broke right now. And so I'm going to be selling the products that I've used to help maintain my health and fitness for 17 years. They're the best products in the world. And, you know, if people want to reclaim their health, be able to do that through livingwellvnl.com. But I created the Freedom Project as the vehicle to emancipate humanity, to move humanity towards a better world so that we can all be free and we can all live lives like most people can never imagine, have never imagined what life could be like if we completely restored natural law and autonomy and sovereignty back to the people. I mean, it would be a virtual paradise compared to what we have now. And it would be 1,000 times better than the reality we're living in right now. So my only thing is to ask people to go and watch the content. It's all there. Everything you need to know is right there. Manifesting a new reality, the path to freedom, creating a natural law republic, an Emancipation Proclamation 2.022. It's on my Substack. It's Substack. Well, everything is on. All my links are on the top of livingwell.com and the freedomproject2020.com. So you can find me if you want to find me.
Yeah, I really like your articles. Appreciate that on Substack for sure. Yeah, appreciate all your great work, brother. Oh, yeah.
Thank you. Yeah, I'll be doing and that's why I stopped doing the videos and I stopped writing because I wasn't making any money on it. And so I was like, I got to monetize this somehow. And that's what relaunching livingwell.com, livingwellvnl.com is all about. And obviously the VNL it's short for under natural law, but it was too long. So Living Well VNL, it's got a nice ring to it. But yeah, that's going to be the place for me to actually earn a living and continue this work because I've sacrificed everything to do this, and I've not asked for anything yet. So.
Now, I think supporting each other, those of us who are really understanding these principles and are seeking to detach from the system, if we can support each other's ways of making a living, that is kind of embodying, the structure,
Right.
It's building
Right.
what you're describing here.
And if we build a marketplace that nourishes the mind, the body, and the soul, the marketplace that has been extracting from the mind, the body, and the soul, it will die. So the more we build a new marketplace, the more we take away from those who have abused us. And we don't have to fight it. There's no violence that needs to be engaged in. We just need to unite and build.
Starve the
Build a
beast.
better world.
You know that one, right?
Absolutely. Starve it. That's all we have to do. And that's their greatest fear. And that's why they keep us divided. It's a divide and conquer tactic. Everything they do is divide and conquer. And so that tells me that what's the answer? It's unity. We unite under 4 moral maxims of natural law. We create a new society. We declare our independence from the system, and we just shift into a completely new reality. It's so vivid in my mind that it's possible to do that, and I'm fighting people who say it's impossible. And so it's not impossible. What's impossible is trying to live a good life in this system. That's impossible. The system must be dissolved, and we must start anew. And everything you have is right here. It's in the documentation.
Yeah.
These documents alone will create a new world. The words in here are so powerful. And the people who have read through them, they realize it. So,
yeah, keeping alive our sacred gift of creative thought, which really means getting out of fear and embracing an open mind, doing the trivium and starting to, collaborate as well. Because every time I talk to someone new here, I'm flooded with all sorts of new possibilities. My creative juices flow and inspiration comes to me. Inspiration is something we can share with each other to keep us on this track of possibility rather than.
I wouldn't be where I am today without standing on the shoulders of giants. I mean, the hundreds of people that I have learned from. I wouldn't have been able to create any of this without them leading their path first. So there's the interconnectedness. Everything I've learned from other people. They did podcasts that showed me where to go find these sources. Etienne Laboute, his books, and it's just like I've learned from everybody, and we all have to learn from one another, and that's all I'm doing. What I did was I distilled 15 years and 50,000 hours of my work into these easy to understand videos, these easy concepts, these easy documents. It only takes, I read through this entire thing and created a natural law republic. So if people don't want to read, you can at least listen to what's in the Constitution and what you're going to be agreeing to. But there's nothing in there that everybody who's read it, nobody can find anything they disagree with, because everything fully aligns with natural law. And so we don't need to reinvent the wheel. It's been invented. And we just need to get as many people as possible, build the critical mass to a point that we can safely walk away before they pull the rug out from underneath us. And that day is getting closer and closer every day. I mean, you see what they're doing to us with the dock strikes and did you see that guy? The head of the longshoremen? That guy's a psychopath. He says, we will crush America if you don't give us what we want. I'm like, greed? Like, that's not the answer. Crushing America. I mean, hurting everybody. And they went on strike in the days after all that destruction in North Carolina, when they're going to be needing these supplies so desperately. Now you're going to strike when Americans, because you're pissed off at the billionaires. How about if we create a system that eliminates the billionaires and restores all the wealth back to us? Then we don't need unions. Then we don't need. Oh, and I just found out yesterday, this psychopath that said that. Guess how much he makes a year? $900,000. And this guy's going to crush, and he's got all these cars and airplanes. It's just, this is the guy that's going to crush. I mean, you're just as greedy as the billionaires, you hypocrite. And that's what I see every day. And I watch the media because I have to know what people are being programmed to believe. I watch a lot of media, so I understand what we're up against.
With a different eye, right? When you're looking at it from the lens of the trivium, it's not receiving it as a programming, but as a opportunity
Yeah.
to evaluate and analyze under.
Absolutely. You know, and my,
Yeah.
I don't know if you've been able to watch my, on my YouTube channel, it's called "Is This the Most Important Video in the World?" There's a little bit of a clickbait, but at the end of the day, I think it is the most important video in the world, because what I do is I show in that video that developing these skills that you just said, that, you know, am I able to look at these things critically? What the Trivium is, it's an antivirus program for your mind. It allows you to look at things from a critical point of view without being affected by them like most people are. You can let the good in, keep the bad out, and discern the truth from the fiction. And that's why that video is so powerful. It's essentially, it's my crash course in critical thinking, but it's called "Is This the Most Important Video in the World?"
Oh
Right.
man, it's unfortunate we haven't been familiar with their work, and since over a year ago, because Leslie Powers and Chris Jansen, Will Keller, and a bunch of other folks organized a conference called, the Trivium, Freedom Under Natural Law. That's their collaborative efforts, and that was their third conference, and there was over a dozen people, and they all presented a lot of stuff, and
Nice.
yeah, Leslie, I don't know
We'll
if you
be
want to.
doing another one. We're starting to start to think about planning number 4 in 2025. This year we couldn't get it together to do that, but if you are interested in a contribution,
Yeah,
reach
absolutely.
out to
I mean,
me. Yeah,
that's
you
what I've
could
been
do a
doing.
presentation on this
That'd be
concept
awesome.
and in the
You know, my biggest thing has been create the content first, and then try and connect with people who can get the word out. And that's what we need to do now. We need to connect with all these networks and start sharing, hey, this guy Jake Jackson has actually put together a vehicle. You know, he's put together, it's turnkey. We don't have to keep on talking about this. It's all here. Just go look at it. There's nothing that violates natural law in here. So if we can get everyone on board with this and start building that critical mass, it's already been built. And like I said, Michael Tellinger has already built the the network for the economic system if we want to transition to that. So a lot of the pieces of the puzzle have already been put together. All we need to do is get the people behind it and build to the critical mass. And we just say, we pick a date. We pick our date of emancipation, of independence. And we mail our declarations to our representatives and say, you no longer have jurisdiction over me, period. The straw man is dead, and I am a living man or woman. And you have no control or power over me. And if 35 million people do that, they cannot stop us. And the rest of the world will follow us.
very, very powerful vision. Thank you so much for sharing it. And please, everyone who's listening, check out Jake's work, read it, share it, continue to open your minds in creative ways. And we don't have to keep, coming up with 20 different formats. Let's unify and proceed forward, right? And do our best.
And that's what
Thank you so
I
much.
made everything as simple as I possibly could. And part 2 of The Path to Freedom is about simplicity. You know, Da Vinci said, simplicity is the ultimate sophistication. You know,
Yeah.
and that's it. It's the more simple it is, the more people will get on board. We don't need to complicate things because it's already complicated, and we just do it. And Derek, thank you for reaching out to me on Facebook. I really appreciate it. These are the kinds of conversations that we need to be having everywhere, every day, because the more we talk about this, the closer we get to freedom, and the closer we get to dissolving the illegitimate power structures of this world. And, again, thank you both for your time. I love you guys, and I appreciate what you're doing. And, let's unite and get this done.
Yes, I agree. Our pleasure. Thank you so much for being here. And thank you, Derek, for having the nose to find these amazing people doing this great work. So,
Yeah, how could
yeah.
I'm just surprised and a little disappointed I didn't, hear about you beforehand. But yeah, much respect and much love, Jake.
Thank
Really
you.
appreciate everything you're doing, and yeah, you got that fire that really gets that motivational factor into people's hearts with that care to really push this thing forward. I feel so.
Yeah.
Yes, thank you so
And, you
much.
know, the fire comes from the fact that it is so simple. The answer is so simple, Derek. I mean, it's so simple. Like unity and declaration and walking into a new system. That's it. I mean, look at what these people are going to have to go through after the hurricane. They got months or years. And what I'm talking about is we can create an entirely new world within a matter of days. It's that simple. And people just can't believe it's that simple. So,
Yeah.
yeah.
And I've been inspired by people that have been having that care to want to help, and they just can't because of governmental cock blocking, whatever the fuck. It's
Right.
absurd, right? So,
Right.
but I've just had some really profound positive feelings of those reactions of people on ground level trying to help out as much as they can with whatever rest of life force energy that's available to them with limited resources and all that. So yeah, bon courage out there with everyone. Courage.
Yeah.
Yeah, love to everybody who's going through a really rough time right now in the world. Yeah, thank you so much. Thank you, listeners, for the people who listen to our show, Dissolving the Divide, and keep checking in. We'll have more great content. Thank you so much, Jake, for being here.
Thanks. I appreciate it.
Likewise, ciao, ciao.
Yeah. Yo. Check me out. One time for your mind. They try to say that I'm a criminal. Now they want to judge me. What gives somebody the right for them to stand above me? To make a decision on punishment they think is best for me. What qualifies someone to determine my destiny? You finished law school, graduated Harvard, and you aced the bar exam, so I guess that makes you a flawless man. Someone godlike, unbiased with clear morals, capable of judging the rest of us mere mortals. Did the Creator grant you superiority as the ultimate human moral authority? Where do laws come from? Who's creating them? Corporations making a fortune, or people breaking them? You want the truth? Just follow the paper trail. Companies are profiting off millions locked away in jail. Laws not from God, greedy people made it. Even Hitler's Holocaust follow laws that he created. The justice system is factually flawed. It undermines the principles of natural law. God's been erased and replaced by the government. Judgment means nothing if it's not enforced with punishment. And punishment can only be implemented through violent force if you have not consented. The government is the greatest perpetrator of crimes against the universal
Stay in
creator.
service to truth and freedom in a small minority, and understand my inherent sovereignty, so I reject all authority. I'll serve the one and only, no phony trying to play him. I don't speak illegalese, don't stand under what you're saying, claiming a right to force me into conformity with your decrees. From whom did you obtain this right to be the boss of me? I'm free man, don't need permission from another man to exercise his birthrights. We're part of unalienable, don't you understand? Your stance is morally relativistic and solipsistic, cause all man's laws are the arbitrary decisions of politicians, backed by the threat of violence on no legitimate grounds. Universal moral law, the only law by which we're bound. And if we want freedom, we must accept what's objectively so, that we collectively reap what we collectively sow. That's how it goes, that's why I put the truth forth and all I bring. What goes around comes around. Lex Rex, natural law is
The
king.
injustice system is factually flawed. It undermines the principles of natural law. God's been erased and replaced by the government. Judgment means nothing if it's not enforced with punishment. And punishment can only be implemented through violent force if you have not consented. The government is the greatest perpetrator of crimes against the universal creator. The injustice system is factually flawed. It undermines the principles of natural law. God's been erased and replaced by the government. Judgment means nothing if it's not enforced with punishment. And punishment can only be implemented through violent force if you have not consented. The government is the greatest perpetrator of crimes against the universal creator.